I have to say that you have definitely got a lot of stories as far as um, Fortune Street, Mario Party, and even the wrestling series that I do.
Yes, and when it comes to wrestling, yes. Next thing is wrestling. Now, I've been a long time diehard wrestling fan for so long, even since my childhood days. When I was a kid, I followed the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. I first started watching WWE when it was in the Ruthless Aggression, but then since then I've been watching a lot of flashbacks in Attitude Era with Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and all that.
Yeah.
But my childhood, I've had a lot of favorite childhood rivalries on SmackDown. I followed SmackDown the most in the Ruthless Aggression because SmackDown was the best back then, easily, over Raw. Raw wasn't the best. Raw was a lot better in the Attitude Era,
Yeah.
but SmackDown had a lot of stars like King Booker, Finlay, Batista, Edge, Undertaker. There's so many names. Rey Mysterio, Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero, Brock Lesnar, I said Kurt Angle, The Big Show, John Cena back when he was good, but I'll get to him later. Back the gangster John Cena I'm referring to, of course. That was when he was so
The
awesome.
Doctor of Thugonomics.
Yep, the Doctor of Thugonomics, man. He was just so funny back then. There was Chris Benoit. Unfortunately, nobody mentions his name in the WWE there anymore. Sad story, but Chris Benoit was so cool.
Yeah.
And The Rock was in there. Goldberg was on Raw, though, but Brock Lesnar, there was Kurt Angle, there was Charlie Haas, Shelton Benjamin, there's Matt Hardy, there was so many names that I can think of right here.
I mean, those are just
But
some of the
then,
big stars, though.
those are some of the biggest stars in the Ruthless Aggression back in my childhood. But the one that inspired me the most was the rivalry with Edge, Undertaker, and Batista between those three throughout most of 2007 and to the end of the Ruthless Aggression era. And I started to, I still watched WWE as it went into the PG era. I still followed them a little bit, but I didn't like them as much as I did in the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression. So the last match of the Ruthless Aggression era was in SummerSlam 2008 when it was Edge versus The Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell.
Mm-hmm. I
That was
remember
the
that.
final, yeah, that was the final Ruthless Aggression match ever. So, I wouldn't say ever. They could bring it back down the road. Who knows? In to compete with another promotion that's killing WWE in the ratings right now.
We'll
At
get
the
to them
time
in a
I
moment.
speak,
We'll get to
but
them in a
yeah,
moment. But as far as the ruthless going into PG, I mean, I I was not a fan of it. I mean, sure, I definitely enjoyed what is it, Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho when they had their feud. That was great,
in 2000, you mean in 2008 with Raw? That was
right?
Raw back then. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was back. That was back when the Edge Undertaker stuff was going on, and that was, in my opinion, 2008 was a really good year, despite them turning PG that year. Because most of the year they were TV-14 anyways in 2008.
Yeah.
They were mostly TV-14 then, so it was still a lot of fun. Like, I honestly believe the best rivalry in 2008 was Edge versus Undertaker. Batista was hunting for that world title a lot in those years when he was on SmackDown before he went to Raw. And the world title went to Raw too back in that 2008 WWE draft.
Mm, if I remember correctly, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember what let's see. I'm trying to remember what happened. The only thing I do remember was that CM Punk was Mr. Money in the Bank at the time, and he
Yes,
cashed
he
it in
did.
on Edge.
and he won the world title on Raw. Well, the WWE champion was on SmackDown. He got drafted to SmackDown in the draft. The Triple H, who I'm referring to, of course, back then. Triple H was the champion at the draft, and he was in that battle royal, which was at the end when Edge, actually from SmackDown, won that battle royal, eliminated Triple H and John Cena simultaneously. That John Cena was still good at the time. He was still like the chain gang guy, but when WWE turned PG, that's when he started to become garbage. But back to the draft. So Triple H, when he lost, so Mr. Kennedy was the first pick, but then when Triple H got drafted and the WWE Championship as well, everyone was stunned. Everyone was stunned. I was stunned. You were stunned, I suppose. Triple H had shock all over his face, and he couldn't believe it.
Yeah, but I think the one thing that I remember the most, or actually no, that was the following year's draft, but still, as you were saying.
That was in the PG era, though. This was Ruthless Aggression at the time. This was towards the tail end of Ruthless Aggression.
And so, long story short, Triple H got drafted, and he took the title with him. And then when Edge, who was also the world champion, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, to be more precise,
It was just pronounced the World Heavyweight Championship. It was not unified at the time. There were two separate titles, the WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship, which was the big gold belt at the time.
The big gold belt, yes.
Yeah. So before then, Triple H would defend SmackDown's Triple H at the time would defend the championship against John Cena, who was part of Raw. All these matches were confirmed before the draft. So no matter what, whether drafted or not, their matches still happened. And then after that, they would go to their brand. So Triple H SmackDown, John Cena Raw. It was a pretty great match. Triple H ended up winning the match, and the title went to SmackDown. And then there was Edge, from SmackDown, who would defend against Raw's Batista. Batista was drafted to Raw in that draft.
And Batista. Now I remember. So Edge showed up on Raw, even as a SmackDown, simply just to gloat about the fact that SmackDown had two world champions, and
Raw will never have a world champion. But then Batista comes out and literally beats the hell out of Edge, and then CM Punk, of course, comes in with that Money in the Bank contract.
Yeah,
and then he cashes in.
Yeah, gives him the
cashes
GTS
in on Edge.
And cashes in,
and then he wins the world title, and he remains champion through the rest of the Ruthless Aggression era. And he loses the title when he had an injury in the first ever Scramble.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was actually from an attack by Randy Orton.
Randy Orton attacked CM Punk, so yeah. And he couldn't defend the title. So Chris Jericho, who was involved in a non-sanctioned match after being, as JR would say, the good old JR, whipped like a government mule. He was whipped like a government mule in that match with Shawn Michaels. I think that was like the final chapter in that match, or in that rivalry, or did that go on until like 2009?
I think it's
sure.
Well, it ended the following pay-per-view. And then, going into Survivor Series, Shawn began a new program with JBL.
Yes, I remember JBL. Yeah, JBL was, matter of fact, JBL, I'm going to go to JBL right here, was such a badass heel in the Ruthless Aggression days on SmackDown, man. His rivalry with Eddie Guerrero brings back childhood memories to me. His rivalry with John Cena brings childhood memories to me. The gangster. He was still the gangster throughout all of Ruthless Aggression. But he was very good in the Ruthless Aggression days. And then there was Batista, of course. Batista had a great rivalry with JBL. JBL was just so funny when he was so mad. Like, I remember the time when Eddie Guerrero stole JBL's hat, ruined it, and also when he
stole one of his tires. I remember he stole one of his tires.
Yes.
And be like, I got but I know a guy who can give you a
Did you
steal
said
on a new set of
you said
wheels.
wheels,
Orale.
orale. Yes, I could get you a great deal on the set of wheels, orale. Oh God, that was so funny. I'm telling you, it was so funny.
I'll
Yeah,
give you one more funny story, and then we'll go to
yeah.
why
Back
you
back to
yeah.
JBL and back to the PG days.
But before we
Yeah.
get to that, I'll show you one story. There was the time that Eddie feuded with the Big Show. Big Show,
Oh,
yeah.
oh my God, I remember the rivalry with Big Show too. That was hilarious too.
But my favorite part has to be the fact that that uh, that Eddie ordered a bunch of burritos, and Big Show just ate them, and then you pretty much know where we're going with this.
Yes, he had diarrhea. It was so funny,
Well,
and
what happened
Eddie was
was he,
like, "How are you gonna wipe your ass?"
there's no toilet paper in here. Don't do this to me, Eddie. And then
And also when he sprayed him down with poop as well, that was
oh
funny
god,
too.
that was funny as well. And
Eddie
then
Guerrero was
yeah,
such a savage, lying, cheating, and stealing, man.
yeah, he was awesome. I loved him too, and I also loved the time that John Cena made Paul Heyman eat soap.
Oh my God, that was actually a very funny John Cena moment right there. He and Chris Benoit right there. I remember those days.
I just
Chris?
and, and then but the one part I remember one thing that John Cena said. Hey, don't spit because everyone knows that you swallow.
Don't spit it out. Yes, I remember those days.
Oh
Man,
gosh, I couldn't stop laughing.
I couldn't stop laughing either. The ruthless aggression was funny. The attitude, like Stone Cold, The Rock, those guys were all golden. Like, I remember Stone Cold beating the hell out of Mr. McMahon in the hospital. His rivalry with McMahon was just so hilarious and funny. All the times he had to get arrested and all that, all the times where he, the cement truck and all that. And then there was, of course, Rock, of course, with The Rock, and they had a savage rivalry. I also loved a lot of Mankind as well. Mankind and The Rock was pretty golden too.
Yeah, those were some good ones. I mean, Triple H and The Rock, and then
Triple H and The Rock though was tonight. I am the game, and in this very ring, I'm
I
gonna be saying absolutely nothing. Know
and
your role and shut your mouth, jabroni.
and I got a $2 wife for a hoe, or
Yes, yes, he's got a $2 slut for
for
a
a
wife.
wife. I couldn't stop laughing at that.
I laughed hysterically to that too. Like,
But
damn, he roasted Triple H.
yeah,
But yeah,
I
those days, 1997 to 2008, were the golden days for the WWE, literally.
yeah.
But yeah,
Speaking of which, I mean, really quickly before we get to back
back
to
to the
that
PG
PG
stuff.
area, uh, did you ever get to see any replays with Bret Hart
I
and
do
Steve
remember
Austin?
Bret Hart. I do remember Bret Hart and Steve Austin from WrestleMania before the one with Shawn Michaels in WrestleMania 14. But I do remember that, and it was a good rivalry. The one in WrestleMania 13, I know that he didn't win there, but
He won the
he
fans.
started to be well in 1996. He started becoming the badass that he was when he won King of the Ring, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, and it definitely helped him from there.
Ever since then, he became a badass. Literally. The Rock was a badass. Everyone were badasses back then. Even Ruthless Aggression, too. But
Yeah,
then,
but then
after
yeah,
SummerSlam, things started to become, well, it wasn't as bad in 2008 and 2009. After Batista left WWE in 2010, that is when the downhill started to go down. That's when it all started going downhill. in 2010. It was still PG in 2009, but at least things were still watchable and there were still great stars over there. But it's 2010. 2010 when Batista left the WWE, and Batista did the right thing. He didn't like the PG stuff that was going on. I didn't like it, but at least the thing was still watchable up until he left. When he left, I started to not watch every week because storylines became childish. They were making like Teletubby-like characters, and most importantly, they made John Cena, who was their poster boy in the PG era. They shoved him down our throats for so many years, and they overused him.
Yeah,
Like,
instead of trying to make new stars, you know.
exactly that, and they did that in Ruthless Aggression and Attitude Era too. Like, they developed Triple H in the Attitude Era.
Right.
Like, Vince McMahon is starting to become, weak. He shoves John Cena down our throats, but then in 2014, he starts shoving another guy down our throats, which he still does to this day. Roman Reigns. And he cut some of the cheesiest promos ever that I can ever imagine. He cut some really terrible promos like Suffer and Succotash, Tater Tots. That was just terrible.
It just doesn't sound like him. I'm like, and the one thing, like, the last promo that he ever did was in the lead up to WrestleMania and why he had to get replaced. Like, when he spoke, he wasn't given a script, thankfully. He just was told to go out there and just tell it like it was, and to me, that was the real Roman Reigns. That's the Roman Reigns that they should have put out for years instead of this suffering succotash guy.
Exactly. Like, they ruined Roman Reigns because they overused him just like they did with John Cena. Well, John Cena, at least he wasn't overused in Ruthless Aggression. He was used right, and he had a great character back then. The difference between John Cena and Roman Reigns is that at least John Cena has a personality and a character. Roman doesn't have that with these terrible, like, cheesy scripts. He doesn't have that.
And speaking of terrible and cheesy scripts, that kind of leads us into a guy that was in WWE. You might remember him as Dean Ambrose at the time.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you know the story, so why don't you tell him?
So one time, Dean Ambrose was given a promo that he was disgusted with. He was like, there was like this gas mask, and there were so many people out there. Like, I don't know if I can phrase it best, but I didn't care about the WWE. I lost interest in WWE completely after they got rid of. After they got rid of the pyro in 2017, I quit with them, literally. I literally quit with WWE back then.
I understand. And but yeah, I remember.
But I did follow highlights. But yeah, but there was like this one promo that he had that was just terrible, and made fun of mentioning Roman Reigns' leukemia. He felt offended by it.
It's like,
and
I was told to cut a promo on my actual real friend about this disease. So you just want me to say your stupid lines? That's what
Ambrose said.
That's
John
what Ambrose
Moxley.
said. John Moxley.
Well,
Jonathan
now,
Good. That's the guy's real name.
Well, now he's in a promotion that is now kicking WWE's ass, and this is the promotion that made wrestling good again. AEW. I follow them every week on Wednesday night.
What does AEW stand for?
All Elite Wrestling. So he moves over there at Double or Nothing, and he has some epic rivalries, and he becomes the savage that he wanted to be in WWE. But he didn't. He was under the restrictions of PG and all that, and which was terrible. But John Moxley had some very good matches. He had, at the time we're speaking and doing the interview, he is the current AEW World Champion, winning the title from Chris Jericho.
Yeah, but before we get to all that, I think it's best to start at the beginning. Double or Nothing.
Yes, he debuts in Double or Nothing, which was the very first pay-per-view for AEW.
But he
And
wasn't
that's
the
when
only one. Oh, sorry.
well, yeah, that was actually one of the first ones. Yeah, it was
It
the
was the
first
first
one.
one. It was the first one. Yeah. I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
It's fine, don't worry. But yeah, it was the first, and it drew a lot of wrestling fans, and it was so good. Every single pay-per-view that AEW has done for us has never disappointed us. They made us love AEW. And the difference between AEW and WWE is that in AEW, you could literally be yourself. You could be your own character, and you can write your own storyline too.
Well, for the most part.
Yes, WWE, you can't do that. There are restrictions. There's PG restrictions, of course. There's scripts. There are terrible promos over there, and that's why I literally canceled my WWE network for AEW. Literally, I canceled WWE
Oh,
myself.
okay. Well, I was about to mention like some of the other top stars, like well,
Kenny
there's
Omega.
yes, him. Like, I mean, he had some great matches with the aforementioned John Moxley,
Yeah, the
or
lights
one
out
match.
match was just that lights out match was nasty and epic too.
But he also did a great job with Omega Jericho 2. They already had fought before that, but what did you think of Jericho Omega 2?
That was a great one too. Like Omega Jericho. Like unfortunately Jericho I believe retained his title. I don't remember exactly.
Well, the title wasn't even established at the time. It was
Oh,
yeah.
so that was before, you know, that was before August then,
Yeah,
probably.
because Jericho would end up taking on the winner of that Casino Battle Royal,
For the World
which was Adam,
Championship.
yeah, which was for
Adam
the
Page,
Adam
Hangman Adam
Page.
Page.
And then Jericho, of course, goes on to win the title and become the first
And
ever
becomes the
champion.
first champion. Yeah, he became the first champion.
And but then there's also the Young Bucks.
The Young Bucks are really good too. I like those guys. Private Party. There are a lot of great tag teams over there.
You can't forget SCU.
Oh my god, they're the first AEW tag champs.
Yeah, and then the Jungle Express
Jungle Express, I remember those
Jurassic
guys.
Express. Sorry, and
I remember those guys.
the Lucha Brothers.
But yeah, the Lucha Bros, yeah. I used to confuse the Lucha Bros with the Lucha Dragons, a WWE team, and they were just terribly booked in WWE. And WWE, I should point out, they had so many opportunities to make new stars, and they had great talent, but they wasted their opportunities. They literally did all of that, and that's why I quit with them, literally.
Yeah, like one guy I was hoping to see as world champion, Cesaro. I mean, he had that James Bond 007 gimmick, and I was hoping that they would go all the way with it. Like they would have him shoot these vignettes where he's James Bond character wise, and I thought he was going to do that, and unfortunately they didn't even do shit with him. And
Exactly, they didn't
that's
do
just one
jack shit.
example. That's just one example, and
I
then
believe they buried him. I believe they buried him with John Cena or Roman Reigns, who was their poster boy, of course.
yeah, I mean they also ruined Rusev, and then I forgot who else.
Buried by John Cena, of course. Buried by John Cena at Fastlane 2015. Or
But
no, not Fastlane, at Extreme Rules 2015.
okay,
Buried right there.
well, but those two examples are just the microcosm, or they're just the standout examples of WWE not giving the guys that
The
should be getting
fans
their
what they
due,
want.
and the fans, yeah. So we now go back to AEW, and but of course we have some great tag teams, and then
Yeah. And
who
they
else
all
did we
have star
have?
power too. They also have star power. Cody, of course.
Oh yeah, can't
There's
forget
Cody.
Cody with him,
Can't
and
forget Cody.
you cannot forget
You can't forget
his
the elite. You can't forget the elite.
yeah. Well, that's just the group name, but I was about to mention his match with his own brother at Double or Nothing,
MJF.
and MJF too.
Yeah,
And oh yeah, we can't
MJF is a
forget.
savage.
Yeah, he's the ultimate heel. I mean, he just makes you feel like you would just want to punch him in the face.
Exactly. Like he's a legit badass. Like they're building him right. Like AEW, they're building him correctly.
And
WWE wouldn't do that.
yeah, I mean they have someone on the level, if not maybe even more, with he used to be called Derek
Attitude Era.
Bateman. No, Ethan Carter the third or EC3. They have someone like that, and they don't even give him that kind of they. If they even gave him just a half the push that they have that AEW's given MJF, we would be talking about another star right there.
Exactly.
But that just goes to
That's
show.
where that just goes to show that WWE wastes their opportunities all the time. It's terrible. And I'm not going to be surprised when and I made a joke out of this. It should be part of the Disney Channel. It really should. It doesn't deserve to be on Fox. It deserves to be on Disney Channel because it's a kids show now, pretty much.
Yeah,
Literally.
it is. And who knows? Maybe if they ever get bought out by Disney, they'll probably just buy out um, Vince's shares and they'll probably take it over.
They probably will.
And whether they'll make it better or not, it's at this point I kind of lost interest. But one thing I will say, going going back to AEW, excuse me with the burp there.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, his match or Cody's match with MJF, that was awesome, and MJF himself was awesome. Who else were we forgetting? Um,
There was
the Bastard.
Oh my god, yes, Pac. The bastard himself.
I mean, his matches and promos are just gold.
Yes. WWE, like, they wasted him, literally.
I mean, they had him,
They
and
had him, and they blew it. They dropped the ball.
I mean, how do you push? How do you push an Enzo Amore over Pac or Neville as he was known at the time? But how do you
Enzo
push
Amore.
that guy? Is a joke.
Enzo Amore. Yes, he is a joke. And first off, he was actually fired by wrestling, and he was banned from a lot of things after he had that incident in 2018 where he raped somebody.
Or allegedly so. But the reason they fired him actually was because he didn't
He
even
never
tell him.
told him.
He never told him. Nah, it wasn't so much that he was found guilty. It was just the fact that he didn't tell him.
He was misbehaving since 2017. Literally.
And of course you know this because you watch guys like WrestleMania among others.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I follow WrestleMania a lot. He does a lot of AEW and WWE highlights.
Yeah, but as far as Neville or excuse me Pac in AEW, he's definitely been a gold mine. But then we go from guys that were in the WWE to guys who have never been there, like what's his face, Darby Allin.
Darby Allin, yeah, he was never in WWE, and he already has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I could totally see him slowly but surely rising to the top.
Yeah, I could see him being a world champion too. I definitely see him being a world champion down the road.
Yeah, maybe even Jungle Boy when he gets a bit older and he develops. I would think he would be great for the kids.
Oh, the kids, see, AEW doesn't focus on the kids, of course. That's WWE.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean they lack the entertainment like with Marco Stunt.
I mean, kids do like to see some badass things.
Yeah, but it's not. But I know that that's not the target demographic.
Exactly.
But I mean, but with the young guys like MJF and Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy and hell even Luchasaurus is
Yes.
Luchasaurus. My goodness, he is so athletic for a man who weighs like 325 pounds, and that's
He
in
is.
muscle.
And that's a shoot right there. That's a shoot.
I mean, we can go on and on about some of these other stars.
Yeah.
Like who else are we forgetting? Oh yeah, you can't forget the women's division, like Riho.
Riho is a great champion, but I like the men's division the most, actually. I really like men's side the most because, of course, I love those lights out matches. I love to see those, like, hardcore, no disqualification type matches. They're a lot of fun to watch.
And any thoughts on the current champion?
Moxley?
No,
Moxley?
the women's champion, uh,
Oh.
Nyla Rose.
Nyla Rose is a savage, too. Like, they built her out really good, and she's doing very good for, like, a heel champion right now.
Yeah, she's a monster, and
She is a monster.
I wouldn't be surprised if they even have her compete for the men's title.
That would be a first if that happened. That would probably.
Of course, the women's side definitely needs more work. Like, because I mean, obviously they don't have the star power that even WWE has, as much as we hate to admit.
I mean,
But it's a start. It's a start.
they'll get there eventually. I know that WWE is in a lot of trouble right now, but we could go on and on. But I think it's time to shift gears because I think we've let out a lot about wrestling. We've
Yeah, we
let out
did.
a lot about the PG era, the Attitude era, the Ruthless Aggression, and
Yeah.
how why WWE sucks now. You name it.
Mhm.
But
So
yeah,
we now go from that to talking about our friends.